especially if you're running your business, because you have to ask yourself, is your invisibility servicing your clients or no? Is your invisibility serving your employees? Is it serving your business? Is it serving your life and your goals? And chances are, if you have made the choice and taken the risk to become a business owner, invisibility is working against it.
Welcome to the Wellness Growth Code podcast. I'm your host, Justine, and this is where we talk to leaders in the health and wellness space about what's actually driving growth right now, from visibility to smarter systems to AI. No fluff, just real insights you can take and use in your own business. So let's dive into it. Welcome back to the Wellness Growth Code. This is the show where we unpack what is driving growth right now in the wellness space. Today, I'm joined by Cassandra or Cassie. What do you like to be called? I meant to Cass. Okay, today we're joined by Cass Bailey from Slice Communications. It's a communications firm working across PR, executive branding, crisis comms, public affairs, and brand building for leaders and organizations, navigating growth and change. And this is such an important conversation for wellness founders because people are often buying from you before they buy from your method, your clinic, your course, or your offer. They want to know whether they can trust you, whether you understand them, and whether you are the right person to guide them. So today we're going to be talking all about personal brand that creates trust, how to choose the right platform, how to show up without feeling like you're performing, and what to do when something goes sideways. So Cass, thank you so much for being on today's podcast, and thank you for your time. Yeah.
Thank you for having me, Justine. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, so I guess, well, firstly, you just told me you won Best Workplace. Congratulations. What
Thank
does
you
that
so much.
involve?
So there's a number of different best places to work awards organizations. This one is with the business journals. So if anybody reads their local business journal, they will give away best places to work awards that companies can earn every year. This is our third time, I think, winning a best places to work award in Philadelphia. And then we've also won one at a national level with the Reagan's Media Organization. So it's something that, feels great, but also we take a lot of pride in. It's also an important part of our brand as
Yeah.
we're talking about brand and our brand as employers, that we are an employer of choice. And so it's part of our branding and how we like to show up in the market too.
And what, just before I move on to the next topic, like what do you think makes your workplace so unique, or what do you do differently to have happy employees?
Hmm. Oh, okay. So there's a lot that goes into having a great workplace. One is that you have to want it. You have to want to be that sort of leader that puts people first, and that is very values oriented. So we've got four core values in our company, and we look for people who meet those values. And if you meet those values, you as a person will probably find this a good place to work. If you don't meet those values, then you won't like this place to work at all. So we lead in our recruiting with values, and our four values are very, very simple. One is co-pilot. We got to show up with a co-pilot attitude. We sit shoulder to shoulder with each other and we look at the problem and we get the plane where it's going. There's also yes and energy. So we come at something with a lot of optimism and positivity when there's a challenge to be solved. And it leads to new creative solutions. We are very goal oriented. If you don't like setting and achieving goals, you're probably not a good fit for us. And the last one is always learning. So we look for people who continue to want to grow and take feedback and improve themselves. So leading with our values has a lot to do with who we are as an employer and helps us to attract people who love working here.
I love it. And before we get into the branding, the juiciest stuff, can you just give us an overview of Slice Communications and what are the kind of leaders you work with?
Sure. So we are a strategic communication shop. And what that means is that we help people take what they're thinking or what their audiences need to hear and turn it into whether it's written communication or video or audio or some sort of way that they show up. That's what we do, especially through change and through complexity. So when you're saying, oh man, I just wish more people knew this about me or knew this value that I could offer for my business, sometimes you can't get it out and you can't get it out the right way. And we're really good at that.
Oh, I love that. And I think when we were chatting before in our pre-call, we were talking about the difference between personal brand and company brand. Can you talk to that? Because I guess so many wellness founders are the face of their business, and where should they focus first? Is it like the wellness brand, and it kind of overlaps with the business brand? So yeah, what is your advice there?
It can. It definitely can. So the first thing is to make a business decision. Are you going to have a business that is a lifestyle business, meaning a business that basically just lets you live the life that you want to live, pays for your house, your kids, your cars, your vacations, whatever? Or are you going to have a scaling company, one that grows and has value that one day somebody might want to purchase or take over from you? If you're going to have a scaling company, your personal brand and your company brand need to be separate because eventually that company brand needs to live on without you.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a lifestyle company and that's your choice, then the two can be very, very closely related. Because that business probably won't exist without you. When you're done with it, it'll probably be done as well. And so the two can have a lot of overlap. When
Yeah.
you're building out your personal brand, there's 5 signatures of a personal brand, which is different than a company or corporate brand. Your first signature is, what you as a human value. What do you really care about? What do people know about like what matters to you? That's number one. Number two is the energy that you show up with. Are you a person who shows up with a very calm vibe that people can, feel very calm around? Are you a high energy person? Are you somebody who brings a lot of skeptical energy? Do you bring a lot of optimism? Do you bring a matter of fact energy? There's lots of different energies that you can show up with. And especially in the wellness community, that probably makes sense to some folks. The third one to look at is your verbal brand. So what are words and phrases, ways that you talk about things that are different than other people and how they talk about things? A lot of people might have a couple of go-to touch points or quotes that they use all the time, or ways that they frame conversations. The fourth one is your physical brand. How do you show up physically? And sometimes those are choices you make, and sometimes those are things that are just natural about you that you choose to lean into. So, for instance, if you think about Prue Leith on British Baking Show, I mean that woman has a personal brand that is around what she wears. It's about her glasses and it's around her necklace. If you think about her co-host, Paul, his personal brand has a lot to do with those like blue eyes and how he shakes people's hands or doesn't shake their hands. So how you show up and how you interact with people. The next, so that's the visual brand. And then the last one is just your spatial brand. So how do you create a space that creates a feeling for the people that are interacting with you? And especially in wellness, that can be really important. Sometimes that is space that people enter, whether it's an office or a studio. Sometimes it's a space that you just present online in your Zoom space. But those are the 5 signatures of your personal brand.
And so once you get clear with those and you answer those, where to from there? Where do you take them?
Yeah. So then you have to figure out how they relate to your company brand. So in some
Mm.
cases, they might be exactly the same, like the visual is the same, but in some cases, they might be different. So your office might be a little more modern, let's say, but your personal brand is a little warmer. And that's okay. But you need to make those decisions between the two because the corporate brand, especially if you're going, or the company brand, if you're going to scale and grow that company, needs to ultimately be saleable. It needs to stand on its own, but they should be related, right? Your mission as a person should be related to the mission as the company in one way or another. So the question to answer is how much overlap is there in the Venn diagram? And only you can decide that. But
Yeah.
think about that and make that decision. Recently, actually earlier today, I posted a rant online about why people should not squat in professional photos and group photos. When people lean down in the front and they put their
Yeah.
hands in their laps or their knees and they squat down so other people can see behind them. Well, part of my personal brand is to advocate for women in the workplace and to not make themselves smaller and to find their strength and their power. And every time we make ourselves smaller in pictures, we take away and we undermine what we're trying to achieve as women in the workplace. Now, part of my company's brand is that we can help advise you on your executive brand, right? And your emerging executive brand. So there is overlap there, but my company would never post a rant independently of me as Cass, feeling confident to stand up in that rant because this is part of who I am and part of my core values. So that's the difference between the two as an example.
And it's interesting because I think I've been that one that squatted down in the front, like letting everyone, and that was
Just
my next. Yeah. Good.
squat. I'm on a movement to stop the squat. There are plenty of options other than making yourself small. The
Yeah.
people in the back, they can get on their tippy toes. You can
Yeah.
find stairs. You can find a bench or a couple of chairs where people can sit in a very sophisticated way. There's no reason to make ourselves small.
I guess it's like I was always the nice one at school and thinking about everyone else and not myself. And I wonder if that's playing out. Yeah, not being wanting to be visible now. Yeah.
A lot of times that's part of it. But when we think about our professional goals and what we want to achieve, making ourselves invisible works against that, or
Mm.
making ourselves small or unnoticeable works against our professional brand and our professional goals.
Well, I guess this is my next question. For the founder who's been hiding behind their modality, their work, or their
Yeah.
client results, and they like, how do they start becoming visible if they're like, because you kind of do have to be. And I always say to people, well, maybe written content's the way for you, not video content. But really, I think you do. There comes a point where you've got to get over yourself, isn't there? Like, especially if you're running a business.
Especially if you're running your business, because you have to ask yourself, is your invisibility servicing your clients?
Mm.
Or no? Is your invisibility serving your employees? Is it serving your business? Is it serving your life and your goals? And chances are, if you have made the choice and taken the risk to become a business owner, invisibility is working against it. It actually becomes a self-limiting belief that gets in the way of achieving what you want to achieve. Your clients and your prospective clients, they want to hear from you. They want to know what you're up to, what you're thinking, what you're doing. If you walk the walk that you are telling them when you talk the talk to them. So there's a question, right? There is a need that you can fulfill by building out, whether it's video or written or photographic content. Some people are just more comfortable with photographs, or audio content like a podcast like you're doing here, to start to move beyond invisibility to regular interactions of you and your brand with the people that matter the most to you.
Yeah. So what would you say to one of your clients if they were really stuck in being visible? Would you like, what would you
Yeah.
say to them?
So the first thing I say is, let's look at those people that you aspirationally like to be like online. Who do you think does a really good job? Who balances energy and advice and insight in the way that you want to do it? And so to start by following a couple of those folks and just interacting with a couple of those folks. They may or may not be in health or wellness, they might be in some other part, but to really like get a sense of how they are showing themselves to be online, because a lot of times we learn by watching and then we learn by doing. And we learn by replicating. If you think of all of us as children, we learned early on how to do things because we replicated what our parents did or our grandparents did, or we replicated what the teachers did in class. And so it's the same sort of thing, except we don't have teachers and we don't have parents. We need to go find examples for ourselves. So find examples, people who wrote books or have really great podcasts that you love, or have a great Instagram presence or a great LinkedIn presence, and start to think about like, well, if I were doing something like that, how would I do it? And then just like start doing it. And you don't have to do a lot. Like do it once, do it twice, see the feedback you get. Ask your most important clients and centers of influence and your advisors, hey, how did that strike you? Was that okay? Chances are they will tell you that was great. And you need to do more of it because we need your voice. We need your presence. You are important. And that feeling of like getting the positive reinforcement will hopefully encourage you to keep going.
Yeah, and I read also, I think it was from Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of a CEO podcast host, that at the start he just kept getting his reps in, and he wasn't good at the start, but he just kept doing, and by doing you become better and better. Um, and then I know that limiting self-belief is such a big one from childhood that comes up to like haunt you from the past. You're like, oh my goodness. So I find like half of this is also getting to know thyself and working on yourself. And I mean, half of what you've been talking about before is human behavior as well and how it all
Yes.
integrates. Yeah.
It really is. And especially as like health and wellness coaches, um, my guess is, and I work with a few, and I have the great pleasure of working with some tremendous ones, they preach discipline to me all the time. Cass, get your protein in, make sure you get your movement in, get your meditation in, make sure that you take care of yourself and nourish yourself. I just got off the call with my nutritionist right before joining this call, which was ironic and yet very helpful. But she kept telling me, like, you got to take care of yourself. You got to set your goals and think about how you're achieving them and visualize how you're going to achieve them. And so hopefully this practice, this behavior won't be hard or unusual or uncomfortable once you start to think about, yes, this is exactly what I'm telling my clients to do.
And I guess how should founders think about choosing the right platform for them? Like whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok, what do you advise?
The easiest thing to say here is wherever your clients are, that's where you should be.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times people in small businesses or health and wellness businesses will say, hey, follow me on Instagram or follow me on LinkedIn or whatever it is. There is an opportunity here to actually flip the script and to say to your clients and your customers, I want to follow you on Instagram. I want to follow you on LinkedIn, or I want to follow you on TikTok. Can you tell me your social channels if it's okay with you that I can follow you? And that'll give you the information and the data you need to decide where to be. And you don't have to be on every social channel. Absolutely not. You need to be really on the one, maybe two, where your most important audience or audiences are.
You also do crisis communication. I don't know if it's relevant for smaller businesses too, but I guess does that even incorporate like a negative comment online, how you respond to that? Like for, I guess, people in this health and wellness space, if someone does get something negative, I know it's very generally speaking, but what would you advise?
So, a crisis situation is any situation when things don't go as planned. And yes, negative comments can certainly be that. Now, maybe you had a customer or a client who thought you overcharged. That's pretty common. Or they didn't get the results that they thought that you would get. So they might leave a negative Google review, or they might leave a negative comment on your LinkedIn. There's a couple of golden rules in crisis communications. The number one golden rule is to validate concern and show action. So, what that would look like if somebody leaves you a negative review anywhere, Yelp, Google, Instagram, whatever, is to respond to them and say, thank you for your feedback. I would really love to talk with you about this one on one. Is it okay if I reach out and you can give me a call? And try to take that conversation offline as quickly as possible. There's another golden rule in crisis communications, which is if you get in a fight with a pig, you both get muddy, but the pig likes it. Sometimes
Mhm.
there are people that are just out there to throw mud. The worst thing you can possibly do is throw mud back, because
Yeah.
that will do more damage to you and your reputation as a professional than it will ever do to them. And guess what? In the words of the great Taylor Swift, hate is gonna hate. They are not going to come back to you and like change their minds. They're not, right? Like they're there for a very specific reason.
Gosh,
So
that's
think about that as it relates to any sort of negative feedback that you get, because yes, those things could spiral into a crisis of your own making if you do not follow these two golden rules.
Oh my gosh, I feel like that advice on this podcast is just like everyone needs to hear that because everyone's going to have something negative at some time. There's like trolls, just that's all they do. They don't, go on and comment and are just not positive people. So you're going to encompass that at some point in your business
Yes.
journey. So yeah, that's very valuable advice. I guess with AI, I always ask that on this podcast. How are you incorporating it? How is it changing PR and everything that you're doing?
So we've been talking about AI since 2019. We host a conference every year called Social Media Day. And in 2019, we had a speaker from Adobe who was there presenting because he had written a book in conjunction with an AI bot that he built. So we've been talking and thinking about it since then. Our COO, Dana Schmidt, has been also speaking on this topic nationally since 2024. And we at the company have a very thorough and specific AI policy. If you don't have an AI policy, now is the time to get one or to work on one of your own. And the way that we talk about AI policies are to ground it in your values. So our values include always learning. So we want to embrace these tools. But we also, as an organization, do value the humanity that goes into marketing and communications. So our AI policy focuses not on generative AI. That's not how we spend our time. Create like using AI to create writing on our behalf or to use it to create graphics on our behalf. That is against our policy. But we use it a lot for research, a tremendous amount of research and sense making. So let's say, for instance, you're in the wellness space and a couple of new papers have come out on a topic that you really care about. AI is a great tool to say, make sense of this for me. It's really fantastic for that so that you don't have to spend all that time reading a very complex paper. We also, within our organization, we primarily use Gemini as our primary AI tool. Now that gives us a walled garden. It means everything with it that we do in AI stays within our corporate presence. That's critically important. If you are in the health or wellness space and you're using if you're using a free AI or even if you're using one that you pay for, you want to make sure that you never ever put any identifying information for any patients into that because that goes in a lot of places that you might not or your patients not might not want it to go. Now, that said, we will also use it for, we build our own, they're called GEMs. They're specific AI tools built in Gemini. So we might build one that's a persona bot. So let's say we put all this information in there about our clients' ideal customers. And we'll write, let's say, a blog post. And then we put it into the persona bot and we say, hey, how would our audiences react to this? Like, how could this thing that we wrote be better and more relevant to this audience? It works great for that, to give you feedback and be a thought partner. It works really great in terms of like we have a pricing gem. And so for your business owners that are listening, sometimes it can be very hard to do pricing. And so we have a little AI bot that builds pricing for us, depending on the specific packages that our clients want or the specific services that they want. And it takes all of our past data and says, well, based on what this client wants and based on what you've done for clients in the past and based on the profit margin you want to achieve, this is what the pricing should be. And so it can be very helpful for figuring out pricing. It can be great for scheduling and calendaring. We love it for that. So all of these supportive business services that AI can provide help with, absolutely fantastic. That said, you never outsource the thinking. Never.
Mm.
Keep the
Yeah.
thinking. That's why people pay you.
Yeah, and I like what you say about writing too, because I've tried it for writing, and I think it just I end up going back and forth, and I'm now I'm probably ADHD brain. I'm using Manus and Claude and Chat, and so I just realized I'm scattered across three different platforms,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are just like, oh, that was great, and I'm like, actually, no, that was shit. Let's like, so
Yes.
I don't find it like yeah, like you said, just from a research, if I'm trying to find a statistic into a pitch or something like that, or helping with a proposal, but in terms of the writing, and also media outlets have now AI detectors
Oh, they
where
do.
and they don't want that. And full
No.
credit because we need to protect like writers and journalists too.
Absolutely. There's a horror story in the PR industry where a PR agency like mine, not ours, but like ours, got a press release from their client. And the client told them just to send it out to media outlets and journalists, and they did. And a number of media outlets said this was AI generated. We're not going to take it, and we will never take anything from you or your client ever again. Now, isn't that awful?
Yeah, blacklisted. Yeah.
Blacklisted, right? Because the PR agency took the release from the client without checking it themselves. And yes, these things got checked. So
Yeah.
we're not fans of that. Now, that said, when you think about what your communication style is, I'm a talker, if you haven't figured that out already. So what I like to do is talk my ideas into my Gemini or into a voice recorder. And then, yeah, I will use AI to help me start to craft those ideas into something. But then ultimately, it goes through me and our editing team too, our human editing team, before anything goes out. But it does help the step of transcribing and organizing my thoughts before they go to our writers.
Yeah. And with your business, I know you were saying you've grown to like 30 staff. If you look at your business journey, is there something that you wish you understood earlier about growth or leadership?
Oh, so many things, Justine, so many things. Our business growth has been a roller coaster. We've been around since 2008. Really
Mhm.
tough time to start a business, and there have been a lot of ups and downs. One of the things that was really valuable to me early on was getting to be around other people who also ran businesses. So I decided that my business wasn't going to be a lifestyle business, it was going to be a scaling business. And I needed to surround myself with other people who are running scaling businesses so that I can learn the business of business from them. I joined the Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a global organization. They're fantastic. And I've been a member of that for a long time. As part of that, I also got access and information about the entrepreneurial operating system, which is called EOS, and it's highlighted in this book called Traction. We've been running on that now for almost 10 years, and having Traction as a way to run the business has been really valuable, and I wish I knew that on day one.
That's great advice. I guess for any entrepreneurs who are starting out and they're trying to build credibility in a crowded marketplace, what would you advise them?
My biggest advice is to try to get to know as many people as humanly possible. The network that our team has built since 2008 pays dividends every single day. We do a series of webinars where we host really smart people who come together and talk about communications topics. We partner with other really smart people on clients. We get to work and collaborate with really smart people around the conference that we're putting on next week. So build that network, and like anybody wants to talk with you, like if they're not trying to just straight out sell something to you, take that conversation, build that network, stay in touch with those people, because you never know where your business is going to go. When I first started this business, I had no idea that one of our biggest success paths would be to grow through acquisition, but we have, and it's been tremendous in terms of our growth and building out the business that we want to have. And so, who knew? The people that I met that worked in mergers and acquisitions many years ago, I had no idea that they would pay off later in life, and they certainly have.
Yeah, gosh, relationships do it old school, that old school communication. My husband's a builder and he's now just doing face-to-face marketing himself and it's
Yeah.
working so much better than anything else right now. So I think it depends on your industry, but nothing can replace that human connection.
Yeah, just talk to folks. You never know what you can learn.
Yeah, that's so true. And I guess now what's next for Slice Communications? Where to? Because it sounds like you're doing so well. What's the next
Oh,
thing?
we have some big plans over the next couple of years that we're working on achieving. We are planning to put out another book. We have two business books currently on the market. One is called Pay Attention: How to Get, Keep, and Use Attention to Grow Your Business. The other one's called Social Media is About People. That one's won a couple of awards. And then we're working on one more that hopefully will be out soon around executive brand. Our webinar series, which we call Slice University, it continues, and anybody can feel free to log onto our website and check them out. They're completely free, the webinars. And then, we're going to continue to grow and support our clients nationwide and in Canada around strategic communications and communications through complexity.
I love it. This has been like such a fascinating chat. I want to put the links to your book in the show notes too. It sounds very good. I'm going to log on to those webinars too because I feel like I need to keep up with the knowledge of the industry and the insights and what's going on. If anyone wants to follow you or learn more about like Slice Communications, where can they go?
You can go to slicecommunications.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Cass Bailey, Slice Communications. I'm one of the easiest people to find online. So please feel free to reach out and connect. I was serious when I mean talk to anybody.
I love this. Like, I think the I've got so many tips for personal branding that I know that I need to get my LinkedIn profile going and everything like that. It's so important to build your brand. And Cass, this has been such a great conversation. I really appreciate your time and thank you for joining us on the Wellness Growth Code.
Thank you, Justine. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks.